Today, I want to talk about a topic that's not all too familiar to everyone, and that's attachment theory. Attachment theory essentially states that how we are as an adult in a relationship has a foundation that was built upon our youth. Now, how I became familiar with this theory was by reading the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. Now, it would be rational for someone to say, hey, I'm 35 years old. I graduated from college. I got a great job. I'm married. I have a family. What does my childhood have anything to do with my relationship today? Now, it's completely logical to agree with that statement, but the truth of the matter is, if it doesn't matter if you're 20 years old, 40 years old, or 6 years old, what happened during your youth as a child is going to affect you to this day. In 1987, the book The Art of the Deal was published. It was written by Donald Trump, but the reality is he didn't write the book. It was a guy named Tony Schwartz who helped him write the book. Now, Tony down the road actually felt bad about helping Donald Trump write the book. And in fact, recently, I think maybe about in the last 10 years, he wrote a book called Dealing with the Devil. And it was My Mother, Trump, and Me. So he obviously had resentment towards Donald Trump, but not as much as his mother. So Tony at this time is 64 years old, and he's still harboring resentment for his mother, who's in her 80s, who's sick, but he would not let go how she treated him as a child. So you know that resentment that he had for his mother had to affect his relationships growing up, had to affect his adult relationships, his marriage, his relationship with his kids. So today what I want to do is want to go over the 3 attachment styles: secure, avoidant, and dismissive, and how they apply to your life and your relationships. So let's go ahead and start with the secure attachment style. Now, I'm going to venture and say that most people would want to be securely attached, right? These are people that they don't get too bothered when the boat starts rocking. There's things that are happening, hiccups along the way, but they understand, hey, this is all part of the process. Now, if it does get to a point where the relationship becomes irreparable and you can't control things and you can't fix things, at that point, they're okay breaking up, divorcing, and going their own way. According to research, the best predictor of success is having a secure attachment style, because these people display higher levels of relationship satisfaction, commitment, and trust. And if you contrast that with someone that has an insecure attachment style, that person's not going to be as satisfied within the relationship, might be a little more prone to cheating and not trusting or as trusting of their partner. As someone that runs marathons, I'll give you this analogy. Take somebody that's jacking up on pre-workout, drinking caffeine. He's ready to roll. The gun goes off and he hits the ground running. He's sprinting. He's like, you know what? I want to be able to hold this pace, even though I never held this pace in training before. But today is the day. Today is the day I do it. You know what's going to happen? He's going to hit the wall. He's going to bonk. At that point, the guy is in hell. So if you think about this in dating and relationships, it's like someone that meets somebody and is super excited about that person, or right off the bat starts texting them every day, calling them, sending them an email, wanting to go out, wanting to hang out. What's going to happen? Yeah, maybe the first few miles, right? The first few dates go well, or a month or two, but eventually you burn out. And that's not what a securely attached person does. They take their time. They're a little more methodical. They're going to play the long game a little bit better than someone who's an insecurely attached person. Let's take a situation here. Let's say you have a woman who's insecurely attached, and she's saying, my boss is raising hell, I got an offender bender, and now I can't meet my friends for a happy hour. If her partner is also insecurely attached, he may say something like, well, you got to work harder at work, and you got to be careful when you drive, and now you'll have to take an Uber to get downtown. Versus a securely attached partner may say something like, hey, it's Friday, enjoy the weekend. Let's talk about what's going on with work on Sunday. But tomorrow we'll get your car over to the car mechanic. We'll get that fixed, and I'll be able to drop you off tonight at happy hour. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. See the difference? Now, someone that's securely attached, what they don't do is they don't really play games. They don't have time for that. So if someone's trying to play games with them, say they're taking a long time to respond to their text messages, or they're postponing plans with them, they might say something along the lines, hey, I really wanted to get to know you, but unfortunately you don't value my time. I wish you luck. All the best. Now you can contrast that with someone who is insecurely attached, and what are they going to do? Okay, you've taken 5 hours to reply to me. Now I'm going to take 6 hours to reply to me. You cancel plans on me. So guess what? When we reschedule, now I'm going to cancel plans on you. The whole point is you're trying to shift the power dynamic so you can get it back in your favor. But the reality is nobody wins. It's so emotional draining and time consuming that it's better to skip the games. So if you want to become more securely attached, there's some things you have to start applying. The first one is to start spotting red flags with the potential partner. Now, the reason is this, is that you can't expect someone to change their bad habits. They are who they are, right? It's like over time they may change, but they're going to change on their own. And the reality is sometimes people will put up with stuff just because, oh, she's really attractive or he's successful. Trust me, it's not worth the stress. Step 2 is to effectively communicate your needs from day one. A securely attached partner is not going to wait till you're 6 months or a year into a relationship to start letting you know what it is that they need. I call this setting boundaries. Sit down with your partner and say, hey, if we're going to enter into this relationship and have a fulfilling relationship, I need X, Y, and Z from you. What do you need from me? Step 3 is to realize that there are a lot of potential partners out there. I know it sucks, man. She was a one or he was a one. But the reality is if they're not fulfilling your needs and they're not giving you exactly what you desire within the relationship, it's better to move on and find someone else. The next step is that someone that's securely attached is not going to take offense to their date's behavior. If they're inconsiderate, rude, it doesn't say anything about you. It says something about them. And that's okay because that person wasn't meant for you. Now, the final step, and this is the most important, is someone that's securely attached. They're only going to put up with somebody as long as they get respect, dignity, and love. Let's move on to the next attachment style, and that is of the anxious. We've all felt anxious. It's not a good feeling. It's almost like something is not within your control. Now, back in the early 2000s, I was applying to different universities. I think I applied to maybe 4 or 5 schools. And as I got different acceptance letters, I could really care less. Oh, you've been accepted to San Jose State. Who cares? But on March 15th, 2001, I got a letter from my preferred school, which was San Diego State University. So when I got that letter, I felt worthy. I felt like I belonged. Now, this really relates to dating, right? Because if you think about it, right, someone that you really couldn't care less about, they're not going to make you feel anxious. You're indifferent to the outcome. But if there's someone that you're interested in, all of a sudden, if you have an anxious attachment style, it starts to bother you. Oh my gosh, why are they not getting back to me? Now, think about this. Let's say you're on a dating app, right? And you're swiping and you match with someone that you're super excited about. Now you're thinking, great, I've matched with this person. I'll send them a message. A day goes by. You get no response. So what do? Okay, I'm going to send them another message. Okay, I get no response. I'm going to send them a third message. See? And the problem is that this person is clearly not interested. They're not getting back to you. But because you're anxiously attached, right? You're feeling like, well, there has to be a reason why this person is not responding to me. Let's say this person does get back to you and they agree to go out and you go, great, I'm going to go on a first date with this person, but this is the first of many, right? You're already playing that within your mind of how things are going to go. So you go on a date, you think you have a great time. The next morning you text her, hey, Susie, I had an amazing time with you. Let's do it again. When are you free? But what happens if an hour passes by? 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours? Are you going to text them again? Someone that's anxious probably will message that person again. So they're going to say something along the lines, hey, I'm not sure if you got my message 2 days ago, but just want to let you know I had a great time. Are you free this Friday? Now, Andy may send one more message. And this time, he's going to be very honest and transparent with how he feels. Hey, that's so rude of you. How dare you? I had a great time on our date. I spent good money. I treated you well. What's the issue? And at that point, Susie may either not reply, which she probably wouldn't reply. But if she does, she might say something like, look, I've been slammed at work. I had a lot going on. I had a great time. You're a nice dude, but I don't feel the spark. Now, Andy's going to feel it. He's anxious. He goes, man, what happened here? How did I screw this up? It's going to make him hesitant to even want to get back out there. Now, if Andy was more securely attached, he would approach it differently. First of all, he probably wouldn't have sent a follow-up message. But if he did, he would have said something like, hey, it was great knowing you. I wish things would have worked out. All the best. And that's it. And you leave it at that, and he walks away. And you do remember that earlier in the video, I referenced that someone that is securely attached, they understand that there are lots of potential partners out there. They don't subscribe to what's called a one-itis, right? Or the one, or their soulmate. If this person is not it, this person's not it. Hey, that's okay. It's not a reflection of you. But play along with me a little bit. Let's say Andy keeps pursuing Susie, which again, I wouldn't recommend. You don't want to over pursue someone or chase anyone. It's not worth it. But let's say he was able to convince Susie to go out with them again, and now they're entering into a relationship. He feels like, wow, I've now have my queen. This is my dream woman. The woman that I've always desired. Here she is, Susie, right? But the reality is this, he's only going to set himself up for potential failure down the road. So let's say within the relationship, at some point, Susie and Andy have plans to go hiking. She texts Andy the morning of. They're about an hour away, 2 hours away before they go off to their hike. And she goes, you know what? I'm exhausted. I have a lot going on. I think I'll take the weekend off. Let's recharge and let's connect next week. And Andy says, no, let's not do that. I've been wanting to see you all week. If you can't come, how about I'll just go over to your house instead and we'll hang out there. Now, Andy is tripping now because he's feeling like she's going to pull away if they don't see each other this weekend. Now, it sets Susie off because it's going to make her very uncomfortable. She wants her space, but Andy won't give it to her. All weekend long, Andy can't focus. He can't concentrate. He doesn't want to go on the hike by himself. He just stays home, drinks beer, and falls asleep by himself. Now, if Andy had a more secure attachment style, he could have responded to Susie. Says, hey, I'm really disappointed that we didn't go on this hike. But go ahead, recharge, enjoy your weekend. I'm going to go do my thing. I'll have fun this weekend. I'll go on the hike by myself. I'll do something else. And yes, let's reconnect next week. When someone is anxiously attached, they crave closeness with their partner. When they don't get it, it just drives them crazy. They may call their partner, text, or email them excessively. They'll withdraw. They'll pull away as a form of punishment for not getting what they need. They may threaten to leave the relationship and say, hey, you're not fulfilling my needs. Therefore, I'm going to go find it someone else. But they don't really mean it. They're just using that as a threat. And they may even try to make their partners feel jealous. Now, it's okay to have an anxious attachment style as long as you're aware of it. But the reality is you probably should not date somebody else who else is also insecurely attached, specifically an avoidant partner. Let's talk about the final attachment style, and that's of the avoidant. Now, avoidance can be very frustrating for a lot of reasons. One of them is because they'll come on very strong and then they start to pull away. Now, if you're dating avoidant, you start to feel like, what's going on? What's the problem? What am I doing wrong? The reality is, it's probably nothing that you've done wrong to cause them to pull away. An avoidant lack love from one or both of their parents growing up. One example may be that as a kid, as a child, you would cry and you would want to get your needs met, but your mother could give two shits about what's going on with you. Or another example would be, let's say you're waiting for your dad to come pick you up after school. 10 minutes pass by, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, he's not coming. And this is the 100th time he's done this. By this time, you know your dad's unreliable. He's out there, but he's just getting drunk with his buddies. Now, as avoidance starts to get older and grow up and have different relationships, they associate relationships with pulling away. So if they get into a relationship, they go, well, this person's eventually going to leave me. In order for me to lessen the chance of heartbreak, I got to be the one that pulls away first. An avoidant lives in a world of survival. It's truly fight or flight. That's the way that they are living lives, specifically when they are in relationships with another person. So they have to find ways to seek solitude, to take time for themselves, to be on their own in order to feel peace within themselves. Now, the authors of the book Attached have what they call deactivating strategies. So this is what an avoidant will do when they want to pull away. So for example, their partner might say, hey, I'm ready to take this to the next level. I'd love for us to be exclusive, or I'd love to us move in together, or to get engaged or get married. And this person who's an avoidant will say yes, but deep down inside, they really don't want to. Another strategy is not feeling love when their partner expresses love to them. They'll say, hey, I love you. And they may say it back, but deep down within them, they don't love them, at least not yet. Another deactivation strategy is when they focus on their partner's imperfections. It's the way they walk, talk, eat, little things like that. Now, the next one is they're pining after an ex-lover, because an avoidant really has a hard time committing and settling down, that they're always thinking about the one that got away. The next strategy is pretty obvious, and that's when they pull away when things are going well. You're thinking like, hey, everything's going well, the relationship's going great, but an avoidant will pull away. The next deactivation strategy is they keep secrets from you. So they're not going to tell you everything. They feel like you don't need to know. if they're talking to an ex-boyfriend, an ex-lover, if they're thinking about leaving the relationship or they're having doubts about you, in their mind, that's what they're doing to protect themselves. And one last deactivation strategy is they're going to avoid physical closeness. They might not want to share the same bed with you, have sex with you, or see you at this time. Now, if Amy Avoidant is in a relationship with anxious Andy, well, it didn't work out with Susie, right? So now he's with Amy. But if she's an avoidant, these different deactivation strategies can drive Andy up the wall because he craves the opposite. He wants closeness. He wants to know that he is loved. He wants to know that if he wants to see Amy and spend time with her, that she is open and willing to give him the time that he needs. We've now covered all 3 attachment styles, those that are secure, anxious, and avoidant. But they could all coexist with one another. You don't have to find someone that is secure if you're an anxious or an avoidant, right? Or if you're anxious or an avoidant, does that mean that doesn't mean that you can't be with someone who is the opposite, right? Who's also an anxious or an avoidant. You could be with any of those attachment styles. You just have to sit down and talk about it with your partner. Figure out a game plan for how to give each other what it is that you need, what it is that you desire from the relationship. Now, as the relationship progresses, it's important that you do this because you want to minimize any surprises. You know, the last thing someone who's an avoidant wants is to pull away from someone and that person chase them even harder. That's going to cause them to pull away even harder or just completely leave the relationship. And an anxious person, right? When they feel that the other person is pulling away from them, that's what they want to do. They want to pursue harder, right? A secure person, we've discussed that. That's a person that can handle pretty much either of those insecure attachment styles or easily another secure attachment style as well. So hopefully you're able to gain a little bit of insight into attachment theory. There's so many more resources out there. There's books out there. Obviously mentioned the book Attach, but there's journals you could also buy on Amazon to go through your anxious attachment style or avoidant attachment style. Tons of videos on YouTube. There's a whole host of resources out there. So hopefully you enjoyed today's content. And for more videos like this, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.